We believe that the full resource super profits tax should have been levied. Well, we're down to some 40 billion, in fact 38.7 billion, according to the study I'm releasing today from economist Naomi Edwards, who's looked very carefully at this and using primarily Treasury and industry figures. We have then looked at the other component of the tax proposal now before government, which is to cut corporate taxes by 1%, from 30% to 29%. What does this do? Well, in turn, it halves the tax inflow to the government again. That inflow goes from 38.7 billion down to 18 to 19 billion, 47% cut in what's left. So you've got a tax proposal for about 140 billion coming in after the miners got to the big parties at about a little less than 40 billion, now being cut, once you give the tax cut back to the mining corporations and other big businesses, to less than 20 billion. And you can see that what has happened here is a Treasury proposal, a Conservative Treasury proposal, to ensure that we made money out of our minerals boom as a nation, to put aside for future nation building and to pursue the dictum of a fair go in this country has been cut to ribbons. And we, the Greens, know how the numbers lie in the Parliament. But I'm going to be very pleased come July 1 when there's an extra 4 Green senators join our team of 6 currently in the Parliament. But our proposal, and I've put this to the Treasury in conversation, but we'll be following it up with this report, is that having given the big corporations a $100 billion break from the super profits tax, it is fair enough for the government now to say, but we're not going to extend to you a further tax cut, which is going to take another 18.7 billion out of tax revenues for Australians over the next 8, 9 or 10 years. That seems eminently reasonable. What will we get? We'll get a massive campaign from the miners again. It started this morning with the big side of town saying that they don't support what the Greens are doing. No surprise, really. But let's see what that money ought to be going to. As far as the Greens are concerned, if we kept that money, and 2.4 billion will be lost out of the budget year after next, for starters, if the tax cut goes ahead, we would be able to be funding, well on the way to funding the start for a national Denticare, national dental health system, paralleling Medicare. If that money is available, we would be able to look at a $50 increase in New Start, in AusStudy, in AbStudy, in the youth allowance, and so on. If we had that money, we would be able to start to pay aged care workers a fair wage for the extraordinarily important work they do for all of us. I was appalled to hear on local TV news in Tasmania a couple of weeks ago some women who had gone to the extraordinary length of protesting outside their own place of work in aged care in northwest Tasmania, and one woman saying that she, as an aged carer, was getting less money than her grandchildren at the Woolies checkout. And we, as a nation, take for granted so many people working in the social services sector, not least aged care workers. And when I hear these massive reversals in a Treasury recommended fair tax on the big mining corporations, I know that we're losing our ability to bring fairness back to pay those workers. It's as simple as that. And we are not going to let that happen without a fight. There will be a fight from the mining corporations, but I hope that the community sector will join in this community debate, because it's one that fair-minded Australians will support us in. It is a fair go. And we are not asking for some extraordinary or extreme policy here. We're simply saying, let's have the Treasury policy of the original tax kept, at least a modicum of it kept, from this massive reversal that is now a government policy and may well be opposition policy. I'm looking forward to the coming debate. We are facing a budget which is going to see very savage cuts right across the board. Face that, ladies and gentlemen, that debate, knowing that the mining corporations are making a mozza out of politics in Canberra. And it's time fairness was brought back into the equation. When I see corporations that are making 14.2 billion, like Rio Tinto, it sends 70% of its profits out of the country, then it's going to benefit, along with BHP, many hundreds of millions of dollars from just that tax cut. A large amount of that will flow out of the country as well. We know that it's time to make a stand to halt this erosion of the taxpayers' rights to get a fair return on their minerals income. So it's going to be, the next few months are going to be a very interesting but testing time for public discourse. And I assure you that in the National Parliament, the Greens will be fighting very strongly to see that a little better of the share of that mining tax is available for the promotion of the very basis of today's conference, which is challenging inequality, social action, inaction in an ever-changing world. Well, we're for social action in an ever-changing world. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.